Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
I'll call our Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for June the 15th to order at this time. It is customary for us to begin each of our meetings with a prayer by a commissioner. And during this time, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer. If you're watching online, you can join us in the prayer. If you like, you can use it for a moment of silence. Or, of course, you can use it for a prayer of your own, whichever you desire. We also do a pledge of allegiance to the flag that Mr. Outlaw will lead us in. And at this time, I'll call on our Commissioner Fred Belfield to have the invocation. Mr. Belfield?
Yeah. Let us all stand, please. Our Heavenly Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus, we assemble here, first of all, just thanking you for this day. It's still beautiful, even though it's raining, and we're so thankful. And Father, we gather here today to transact business for the good of our citizens here in Nash County. And we know all power is in your hand and all guidance is in your hand. And we ask your guidance that we make sound decisions that will benefit the people here in Nash County. And maybe something that we do today as a Board of Commissioners may have an impact on some other counties in this state and maybe even nationwide. We don't know. But all power, again, I say, is in your hand, and you're guiding us along the way. We know we have the coronavirus, and Father, we know that you have the answer and what we need to do to take care of that. And we believe that you will do just that. Now bless us as we continue this meeting. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You will notice we've changed our format just a little bit and had all the board members join us up front. I think Mr. Lamb bought them a rule and measured and made sure we were 6 foot apart, so I appreciate him doing that. On a disadvantage, I did like to have Commissioner Combs sitting out in front of me so I could watch his facial expressions and see what he was thinking.
You got to come a little closer.
Without having to turn sideways, but we'll work through that as well. We're now on item number 4, which is an item that hopefully can do each year. It's summertime or springtime at the present, summer coming up, and we always like to have some interns working with us during the summertime. It helps Nash County quite a bit, quite frankly, and I hope it helps the students as well. I'm not sure what that subject matter is, but I'm sure it may have something to do with government. But at this time, I'd ask Patsy McGee to make the presentation and to welcome the interns to Nash County that will be with us this summer. And I understand we have 3 this summer.
Yep.
Ms. McGee?
Thank you. We contacted Golden Leaf and the Center for Creative Leadership back in April about Nash County again hosting Golden Leaf College Scholarship interns during this spring and summer of 2020. The Center for Creative Leadership responded that we have many scholars experiencing difficulty finding internships given the current circumstances, and they were talking about COVID-19, and would welcome the opportunity to send potential candidates your way. And we interviewed these interns. They all seemed exceptional, and we're excited that in the summer of 2020 that Nash County is able to host 3 interns. Joseph Brake, who's a rising senior at Fayetteville State University, is from Nashville, North Carolina. Zanaya Kane, a rising senior at NC Central University, is from Brattleboro, North Carolina. And Kathy Nicholson, a rising sophomore at UNC Greensboro, from Wilson. And I'm going to invite each one of them up in that order to say a few words about themselves to the commissioners.
That would be great. Thank you, Patsy. Mr. Bright, welcome to Nash County, even though you are a native.
Thank you. And good morning or good afternoon. I would like to thank you all for this opportunity for me being able to speak here. Like she has said, I am Joseph Brake. I'm a rising junior at Fayetteville State University, majoring in social work, where I am the main ambassador for the honors program and also the president of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Like I said at the beginning, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity. It is a struggle trying to find internships during this pandemic, and I was so ecstatic when we got this opportunity to come back to Nash County because I love helping the community. Thank you.
Are you sure you like your intern to be in Nash County at home, or had you rather be somewhere else?
I'm fine with helping people all over the world.
That's a good, safe answer, sir. I appreciate that. Zanaya?
Yes. Hello, my name is Anaya Kane. I'm a rising senior at North Carolina Central University. I currently major in business administration with a concentration in finance. With that, I would like to be a budget analysis, or I'm kind of looking at public administration. Being an intern with Nash County government has given me the opportunity to see different types of jobs and to learn from Ms. McGee. I'm an intern for the intergovernmental housing part and the administration and grants. So I get to kind of see different careers and see which path I would like to take. So I kind of really thank you guys for this opportunity.
Sure, glad to have you here.
All right.
Kathy, welcome to your neighboring county.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Nicholson. I attend UNC Greensboro. I'm a rising sophomore. I currently work in veteran services and senior services, and I'm really enjoying the internship, and I'm learning lots of new things. And I just want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All three interns are scheduled to work 240 hours in June and July of this year, and they all started on the same day, June 1st, and will complete their internships in mid-July. They will assist 4 departments: administration in the areas of grants, housing, and intergovernmental relations, veteran services, recreation and senior services, and cooperative extension. And their supervisors all report that they're doing fantastic work at Nash County, and we're very lucky to have them. We're pleased to have these bright young scholars working with Nash County this summer. And previously, one of our interns came back and worked a second summer, so maybe they'll consider that as well.
Great.
That's all.
All right, well, we are certainly on behalf of the board glad to have each one of y'all here. When you do graduate and look at employment, please check with Nash County, see if we have any openings. We like homegrown folks and adjoining county folks as well, Kathy. I believe you're the one from Wilson. I hadn't got that wrong. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. But we are pleased to have you here and appreciate you helping us this summer, and I hope you do receive some benefit from it also. All right. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5, which is Housing Urgent Repair Loan Program. And Mr. Gee, I'll call you back to the podium, which you're already there.
Thank you. The North Carolina Housing Finance Agency has awarded Nash County $100,000 under the 2020 cycle of the Urgent Repair Program, and this program is funded through the North Carolina Housing Trust Fund. Goals of URP 20 are to alleviate housing conditions which pose an imminent threat to the life or safety of very low-income homeowners with special needs, and to provide accessibility modifications and other repairs necessary to prevent displacement of very low-income homeowners with special needs, such as the frail elderly and persons with disabilities. And with this program, we're not able to bring the entire home up to rehabilitation standards, but we can stabilize deterioration and help people remain in their homes. A URP 20 home must be occupied by someone with a special need and with a household income at or below 50% of the median household income for Nash County, with 50% of the assisted units at or below 30% of the median household income. Special needs households include those with an individual who is elderly, handicapped or disabled, a military veteran, a single parent, has a large family, or has a child with elevated blood lead levels. Household income for URP 20 in Nash County cannot exceed $33,100 for a family of 4, and 50% of our URP 20 households must not exceed $19,850 for a family of 4, using the NC HUD median income limits. The maximum lifetime funding to repair a home under the URP program is now $10,000. So that means if someone had a URP before, they possibly could qualify again. The maximum soft cost per home is $1,000, which goes to the consultant. And the deferred forgiven loan per home it's forgiven at a rate of $2,000 per year. So it's a loan program that's forgiven over the years as they remain in the home. URP regulations require that policies be developed for procurement and disbursement, plus client assistance, and so we've enclosed draft policies, which have been reviewed and approved by the Housing Finance Agency to ensure that all the updates are included, and we have adopted similar policies before. Nash County plans to rehab 10 homes through this program, and we are scheduled to take applications July 1st through July 10th, following execution of a funding agreement, which will happen after we submit the signed policies and attend a workshop, which is in about a week. So the recommended action is to approve the policies subject to any amendments recommended by Housing Finance Agency, which I don't expect any since they've already reviewed it, and authorize the county manager or his designee to execute documents and reports for administering the program. Do you have any questions?
Any questions of commissioners?
Yeah, I have one in connection with the applications. I noticed that people that are living in a home that's disabled, and they will qualify, but may not know how or have the ability to fill out the application.
We have
Is it-
several options for them. We are going to mail applications for both the URP and the ESFR program to clients for whom we have received a housing assistance request. That's about 450 houses over the last 5 years. So we're going to mail all of them an application. So they have the option of completing it and sending it in, or they can come into the office and we will assist them with the application. And in the past, most people have come in the office, but due to COVID-19, we're not sure what to expect. But we have set up the library so that we have a curtain which would be between the person taking the application and the client. And we have hand sanitizer already set up in there. So we're trying to accommodate them. We can't go to their homes to try to take the applications, but we will accommodate them the best we can, either here in the office or by phone, and they can mail in or fax in or scan an email, depending on their capabilities. So we'll try to work with them as best we can.
Okay.
We will also advertise it, different places and post it, like on the website, which we realize not many in this income range probably check the Nash County website very much. So we also send it out to some churches and we post it different places.
Did you list the deadline for the application?
Yes, we will take them July 1st through 10th. We usually get a significant number of applications, so we don't think that'll be a problem for getting a large number of them back.
Okay. Yeah, I see it up here now. July 1st through the 10th.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Mr. Belfield? Any other commissioner have a question on this item? The call for action is a motion to approve or deny this request.
Make a
Offer
motion to
motion
approve.
to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Wells, a second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McGee.
Thank
Have
you.
anything else this afternoon?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move to, first of all, I should have done this in the beginning. I have one one agenda addition that I'd like to add if there's no opposition from the board. We have one grant project ordinance on the Middlesex Industrial Park that we need to add, and if it's okay, I'll add it as 8A after budget amendments. Is that okay with everybody? All right, we're now on item number 6, public hearing. This is our public hearing for 2020-2021 budget, known as 2021 budget. It will be our public hearing, and then we'll decide what to do after the public hearing. I'll turn it over to County Manager Z. Lamb at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I will briefly just recap what this budget does. We had a full discussion 2 weeks ago, but again, this budget is balanced. It is slightly less than last year's, $2,555. Of a $95 million budget.
I would agree that's slightly, sir.
Yeah, it's 0.00003 percent reduction. But we're maintaining for the 11th straight year the 67-cent tax rate. As we go forward, we have been conservative with this budget because of COVID-19 and the economic uncertainty. I can tell you, as I believe I told you 2 weeks ago, our numbers are looking pretty good. Our tax collection in the current year are above last year. And our sales tax are coming in pretty well. Our vehicle taxes we just got for May was a slight drop of about 10%, but it's still over $500,000. So we're actually cautiously optimistic as we go forward. I do know the board wants to revisit certain issues come October, November, December regarding salary increases for the employees, and we will keep an eye on that and bring that up at a future time. At this time, if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Otherwise, I'll step aside for the public hearing.
Any questions of County Manager at this time from board members?
I have one.
Ms. Belfield?
And looking at the budget as it relates to recreation in the parks, I noticed there's no increase in staff employees, and we're adding on now, we're operating the Miracle Park in Cooper's community. Now, are we looking at volunteers? Can the staff, that current staff, I believe it says 6 and 2 part-time, can they handle all the parks that we have here in Nash County now?
We believe we can.
That's going to seem to be a real active one over there.
Right. We have actually added to maintenance in the current year budget, anticipating Miracle Park would be open this spring. It's been delayed, but they did add a person for maintenance last year. When we brought in the Nashville Parks and Recreation programs, we also brought in one of their employees. So we've added that employee in the current year budget, I guess about 2-3 months ago. And that position continues into next year. Again, Because of the COVID-19, we have not added any new positions anywhere in the entire budget. That doesn't mean we don't have vacant positions. We have probably 40 or 50 vacant positions at the moment. But we will monitor it. When Miracle Park opens, you're right, that's a big complex, and that's going to require a lot of attention. We are going to monitor it and make sure we have adequate personnel to deal with it. And you brought up a good point. If we need to bring in part-time people for the short term, we will do that. That department probably has more part-time people than any other department in county government.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Belfield? Okay. Other questions of Mr. Lamb?
Thank you.
Mr. Lamb.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into a public hearing to hear from anyone that wishes to speak on this budget. Have a motion by Commissioner Richardson. There's a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a public hearing to have any comments about our upcoming budget for 2021, and be glad to hear from anyone that wishes to ask any questions, have any comments at this time. And I know we don't generally on public hearings, but do we have any written comments come in?
We did not, and we actually have shut down that email address,
Right.
so we won't be using that moving forward.
Go, gotcha, okay. Thought so, just want to make sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was,
Joseph wants to ask a question.
yeah, I was getting ready to
Any
ask.
interns have a questions? Excuse me, Mr. Belfield, we're in the public hearing, then I'll get to you. Do you have a question, sir? Please come up, and we'd be tickled dead to hear from you. Yes, sir, Joseph.
It's more of a statement than a question. I would like to talk on what Mr. I don't want to say your last name.
Belfield.
Belfield.
Mr. Belfield was saying about more employees for the Park Recs division. Well, I'm interning for the Parks and Maintenance division right now, and with the work that we do, it is it's a lot of park to get to. Not saying it's not something that we can't handle, but like he was saying, with the addition of more work, there would be more job opportunities, and it would be easier to maintain the parks.
Sure. I appreciate your comment, and I hope you understand in the COVID-19 era that we are in, we have so many unknowns on projected revenue for next year. I've been commissioner 18 years, and I don't have a time in that 18 years when we knew less about our projections in revenue than we know here today. That's why this board has taken a very cautious approach. But if things look better than we think they might look, we don't know what they're going to look like, quite frankly. But it's a lot easier to add something than it is to take away something.
Yes, sir.
As you move forward in your work career. So that's the approach we kind of taken. But your point's well taken, and we certainly agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, would also note that with the situation with the virus, it's probably going to be spring of next year,
Okay.
if not later, before we have any organized activity at that park. So
Sure.
we've got our maintenance crew in place to maintain the park. And once we get into an organized activity situation, then obviously we would have to staff for that.
Any other comments? Mr. Belfield? Back to the commissioners.
I was just going to ask, in the situation, and you probably have already, and you and the county manager probably have already consulted with me. A public hearing, is this legal, okay, the way we're doing it?
It is, sir. But I'd like to hear your question about the way we're doing it. It was properly advertised.
I know we send it out on email, and ask for comments and stuff like that, but many times people overlook it, don't take the time to send in an email.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering if we get any challenges later on. as to, I didn't get a chance to review it because I know we've notified everybody about well, we put out the notice
Yes, sir.
that we're having it.
Yes, sir.
Which we are supposed to do, and we did. But I was just wondering about having it like that when the people can't attend.
Well, after Mr. Belfield, they could indeed attend. They could be here today. What Stacy explained was that we stopped that email process at our last meeting because we are a governmental unit, we can have a larger number of people in the room, and you'll see the whole room is marked with places to sit. So if someone wanted to be here, and if I'm not mistaken, I explained that at our last meeting, that we would be having people in the room for public hearings, but of course, even at the time we didn't, we had them staged outside, they could come in one at a time, so I don't quite know what you're asking, but if you want to rephrase it, maybe I'll understand your real question, but it didn't have to be by email.
Well,
In fact, really, it couldn't be by email.
One simple thing, as long as are we legal, and if we are, then
Well, let's ask Mr. Durham.
That ends the discussion if
Okay.
we are.
Well, I'm no lawyer, as you well know. Mr. Durham, do you know of anything we haven't done?
I think we're good to go.
Okay,
We're legal.
okay, all right, I appreciate that.
Can I just make a comment for the benefit primarily of the interns?
Please.
Because it would appear, if you're sitting in the audience, that we're getting ready to approve a $95 million budget with no discussion. But that would absolutely not be the case.
Yep.
There have been many meetings and much discussion about this budget. So I'm not asking any questions because my questions have been answered.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that point.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Lamb?
I would, for Mr. Belfield's benefit, I would just say that the procedure we use this year is the same we've used every year. In the last 5 years, we've had no public comments at our budget public hearing. I think generally when you don't raise taxes, you get less opposition to budgets and less comments. But we have fully advertised this meeting in all 3 newspapers, and just as we have in past years. So the procedures we've used are the same. What happened was when we went into phase 2, before that, we were limited to 10 people at our meetings. And so we came up with another system to allow people to send in comments, generally for public comments. But with the phase 2 coming in, and as a governmental unit, we are not limited to that 10 limit anymore, but we are still limited to social distancing. So that's why we have all these things on the chair. So anybody could come today, and we did advertise that. We have had the budget available for public inspection. So I agree with Mr. Durham that we've done everything we're supposed to do. Thank
Mr. Belfield, I will further say that Mr. Lamb and I had a discussion last week about whether to recommend approval of the budget today after the public hearing. And what he and I agreed on was that if we had no comments, we would move forward. If we did have comments, I've never particularly liked to have comments and then immediately approve something, because I think it shows a lack of consideration for any comments we may have. So we came prepared today to do either one, really. But are there any other discussion by board members? I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wells, second by Commissioner Lisa. Lisa. Leggett.
Ma'am, what's your name?
Leggett. I got the Leggett part of it, right. Yeah.
You got the last part.
Still with a L. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Now, it's up to the board. Benz, we did not have any comment. I would recommend that we move forward approving the budget at this time, but that's up to the board, and I'd call for a motion to, it says approve or deny. I'd rather have the motion to say approve or
Amend.
amend the recommended budget. Thank you, sir.
I'll make a motion, we approve the recommended budget
Budget and budget ordinance.
and budget orders, okay?
I have a motion to approve the budget and budget ordinance. I have a couple of seconds. I'm not sure, Mary and Fred maybe? Okay. Any
You don't have
questions on the
different
motion?
Staying.
Fred can second it, I'll back out.
Okay. All right.
Fred second.
Fred seconded. Mary backed out on me. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. At this time, on behalf of the board, we would certainly like to thank the staff for putting this budget together, particularly the way you went about it with flexibility in it, the way you were able to come to a recommended budget without knowing a lot of things about the revenue and what it may be. Ms. Wood has always done an excellent job of estimating revenue, and I wouldn't have any doubt that she would be pretty close again this time. So I would like to, because we have made it a public statement several times, if the staff would remember when we get to the end of the first quarter, we kind of owe it to the employees to actually review where we are as far as what it relates to revenue, and if we could just remember to make sure we do that, it may be good news, it may be bad news, or it may be neutral news, but let's just address it at the, that would be October, I guess. So we could make a note to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I think it'd be a good idea if, on a monthly basis, the manager would give us an update on revenue.
Sure.
And
That'd be a
then that
great
would kind
idea.
of drive that discussion into third or fourth quarter possibly.
Right.
Okay,
Make that an agenda item every month to just discuss.
right. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, on behalf of the staff, we'd like to thank the commissioners for your hard work during this process, an uncertain process, uncertain times. I'd really like to thank y'all all for working with us on this budget. There's very little expansion, if anything. There are things that we're not funding that we would have liked to have funded. There are things that we did not increase that we may need to come back later and increase, but we appreciate your understanding, and I personally appreciate staff, the finance office, and her hardworking crowd, as well as our assistant county manager. Thank you.
Other comments about the budget?
Well, the good,
Ms. Belfield?
I'd say the good thing is that we can amend the budget. The next thing that I would suggest, let's talk positive about the economy and everything, and so that the tax will come on in at a normal rate, and we won't have to worry about a tax increase or even talk about a tax increase.
I think this board's glass stays at least half full about all the time, Ms. Belfield.
Yeah.
All right, to no other comments, we'll move to item number 7, which is Miracle Park Capital Project Budget Amendment, and I'd call on Ms. Wood at this time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So the item that you referred to with the Miracle Park at Cooper's Capital Project Ordinance Amendment, the attached project ordinance amendment submitted for approval to include funding updates from an additional donation of $6,000 from Cooper's Community Development Corporation, and also a request of $60,000 for additional fund balance appropriation for the park project related to updates and revised cost estimates, including 2 additional picnic shelters. So the amendment increases the ordinance by $66,000.
All right, any questions on this item? Commissioner Outlaw, anything you want to add? You kind of spearheaded this project in your district there. Anything you want to add to that?
No, sir, we had a good meeting. We went over all the different aspects of the project. We talked about funding. CCDC has been very good at working with us. They've provided some additional funding, so I think we're in good shape.
Great.
That said, and without any other comments, I'd move for approval of the project ordinance amendment.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Motion stands approved.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ms. McGee, who is just a very key player in this whole park program. So thank you, Ms. McGee, for everything you've done. I know we push you pretty hard. Thank you.
I hadn't heard her say that.
She never would, but she sent me an email, said, I can't do it today, but I'll do it tonight. So I said,
Can't be that, can you?
no, and I thank her.
Couldn't agree with you more. We'll move to item number 8, which is a COVID-19 grant project ordinance. Donald?
Okay, the attached project ordinance is submitted to establish a special revenue grant project ordinance. This is for coronavirus grant funding and related expenditures. What we have actually are 3 funding sources related to COVID-19 grants. The first one is Health and Human Services Medicaid funding, $149,551. We had originally budgeted for that in the general fund. We're going to move that to the special revenue project. The next one is our coronavirus relief fund, the CARES Act fund. That's $1,784,259. And the next item is COVID-19 DHHS Department of Health state funding. And that originally was budgeted in the general fund. We'll also be moving that over. It's $94,714. Within this, we have broken down what we are currently considering different services that we can provide for each one of those projects. They'll be separated out with the expenditures, and we've identified our categories that we believe our funding will fall into for the coronavirus relief fund. We are, however, still working on implementing that and how we're going to make that all come about, especially with some of the items that we've provided for our town grant funding that we've set aside in Category 7. So we're still working on the process, but we've tried to anticipate what funding we'll need for each area.
I know we had a pending deadline on this 1.7 million. Have we submitted that yet?
No, that's due today.
Due today?
It is.
So it'll be submitted today then?
Yes.
It will be submitted today.
Okay, all right.
We wanted to make sure the board was okay with it. I know she sent it out last week. It is amendable at any time.
Correct.
So if we see we need to shift money one way or the other, we can always do that.
Actually, what we got last week is changed on what I have on my iPad, if I remember correctly.
Because we found
Because
out.
you've added the other revenue, I guess.
Which one within?
We
We did update one of the categories or change one of the categories, or?
for reimbursement.
Right. It's different than the last one that I've got. But that's okay. I mean,
It was slightly different. Yeah.
right, what we've got on the iPad is what we are approving, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Any questions from board members on this item? I did notice, I think I've read that one of the towns has already discussed this, and maybe the amount they wanted was a little bit less than what we had in mind. Did we make adjustments to all towns based on that comment that I saw, or are we leaving it the same?
We've received some
Or do I
information.
remember something wrong?
Right. Well, we've received some information from Town of Nashville.
Okay.
But again, not having fully implemented our process.
Right.
We didn't change any of our numbers at this point based on their submission. Because that doesn't mean that they may not need a second submission depending on how long
Well, that's
this
kind of what I was
continues.
thinking when I read that. It would be too early, I think, to adjust odd numbers.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, their request was very reasonable, like $13,000. I would point out that the 250 going to the hospital are going to be used for PPEs, and they're building an $800,000 on the second floor, an $800,000 COVID-19 ICU unit, and 140,000 of this money to them is going to be used for that purpose. So it's directly related to COVID-19.
Okay. I did not know that. That's interesting. Okay. Anything else you need to say on this, Ms. Wood?
I think that's all right now.
Questions from commissioners? All right, we have no questions. I'd entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Leggett. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries unanimously.
If I may, I forgot, I should have said it earlier, but there was some question about we were providing funds for Nash Community College, but not the public school system. We were instructed by the state that the school system's getting their own pot of money and not to provide them with these funds. So.
Correct. Gotcha. All right. We'll move to item number 8A.
That's
Which-
correct.
Which is,
The item 8A is the one that I had requested to amend the agenda, and that's for a grant project amendment for the Middlesex Corporate Center related to the water sewer road and the tank and water loop project. It's just an amendment to reclassify some of the expenditure line items based on our construction and engineering service agreements. And so it's really just to clean up some of the categories in order to properly record our purchase orders and contract agreements.
all right, any questions from commissioners on this one? Could you elaborate a little bit more on what we're doing? 'Cause
Sure.
I didn't follow it too well.
Okay, so the first item that we're doing under, if you look under Section 4 of the amendment that I provided, our construction agreement with the water sewer road project was $1,791,000. We originally had budgeted $1,561,000.
Okay.
We had to make sure that we had enough funding in that line item. We had originally budgeted for legal, admin, and permits, $81,000. We were able to identify that we could change that number to $18,256. With our engineering services, we have anticipated a split between those services, both the tank and the water loop project, around $350,000. So that split currently 60/40. And you can see we were able to adjust that number down so we could move some of the funding up to the construction. So again, it's really just changing some of the line items in order to meet the contracts that we have in place.
So do we only now have $41,000 contingency, or I see some more at the bottom here, 89?
For the water, sewer, and road project, currently, we only have $41,806 in contingency, but for the tank and the water loop project, we have $89,515.
All right. Other questions from the board? All right, with that said, I'd entertain a motion to approve this project grant ordinance amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Project ordinance stands approved unanimously. We would move to item number 9, which is budget amendments. Ms. Wood?
Okay, I have 3 budget amendments for the commissioners. The first one is with emergency management. This amendment is for a supplemental grant from the State of North Carolina Department of Public Safety. These funds are for COVID-19 projects related to Homeland Security, planning for social distancing in congregate shelters. It's $12,696. No county funds are requested for that. The next item is a transfer request. This amendment is to appropriate fund balance. This is related to the Miracle Park at Coopers, the fund balance appropriation of $60,000. And the final item is with the Momeyer Fire Department requesting appropriation of $36,000 from their tax district fund balance. These funds will be used to purchase a set of hydraulic rescue tools. It's a request of $36,000 of their fire district fund balance, and no county dollars are requested.
Any questions from commissioners on these 3 budget amendments?
Is this, Mr. Chair, is this fund balance money left over from the Miracle Park, some of the things that
Which
you had
one?
appropriated it for and didn't use it, didn't have to use it?
The $60,000? Mm-hmm. That's actually new fund balance that we're appropriating.
Come from the general fund balance?
Coming from the general fund balance.
Okay.
Other questions? I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, is that where I'm at?
You need a motion.
I need a motion. That was for the grant ordinance, okay. Entertain a motion to approve the 3 budget items.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we're on item number 10, and we'll turn it over to Vice Chair Outlaw for leading this discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I realize that many of our committees have not been meeting, or they've been meeting in kind of a situation where there's not a lot of business discussed, but we're going to go through each district, and if you have a report, then please present it. If not, indicate no significant items or no report. District 1, Commissioner Richardson.
No report from CAC because of the virus. Until later, they will hopefully start again. But the Spalding Resource Center did open again on the 2nd of this month with 2 programs back, and hopefully adding the rest slowly as the situation permits.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Any questions of Ms. Richardson? Hearing none. District 2, Commissioner Belfield.
Okay, Farmers Market Board has not met. My comment is that the market seems to be going well attended with the situation as it is. Juvenile Crime and Prevention Council scheduled to meet this week, coming Thursday, and the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government will meet tomorrow. So I don't have any report until after that. Tar River Transit, we did cancel the meeting. It's been rescheduled. And Need, we met last week in connection with the Head Start. They're coming out, they have recommended to the board, and the board approved a new policy for a Head Start, and not only that, a new curriculum. And that curriculum, I believe, I'm not looking at the exact figure, but I think it was, wasn't it 98,000, Stacy?
I believe it was 88,000.
Okay, 88,000 is for the new curriculum. The staff examined 3 different programs, and that's the one that they recommended, and it seems like it's going to be a pretty good program for Head Start with the situation that we're in now. And all the staff members are going to have to go through training and certain guidelines they're going to have to use as they work with their children and the parent with this new program. And let's see, that's it for me.
Any questions for Mr. Belfield? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Belfield.
If they want to look at this, anybody want to look at it?
Mr. Belfield's got a handout from Need if anyone's interested in seeing it. Just see him after the meeting. District 3, Commissioner Cone.
None of the committees have met except the Trillium Board has met virtually. They're just trying to maintain and handle the situation the best they can with the COVID crisis. They have their staff, a lot of them are working at home. They have the people that have to go with social distancing and wearing masks and just do what they have to do. So we need to commend them for getting their job done under the circumstances that they're dealing with. The other thing, Medicaid reform that we've been talking about a long time, which is a legislative thing, which kind of changes the way Trillium works. They'll have standard plans under Medicaid, which means that the private insurance companies will handle the least severe cases, and Trillium will be handling what they call a tailored plan. Them and the other ones will be handling tailored plans, which the change means that they'll be handling all that person's needs. The more severe people, they'll be handling all their needs, all their medical needs and mental health needs and everything. But that's up in the air. It will not go live July 1st. So really under the circumstances, that's just on hold for the time being. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Commissioner Cone? Thank you, Mr. Cone. District 4, Commissioner Leggett.
All right. The Nash UNC Hospital Board has continued to meet either in person or virtually via WebEx. The hospital has been continuing to actively prepare for, as Mr. Lamb alluded to, they're increasing their capacity for critically ill COVID-19 or any other infectious disease patients, looking at this more of a long-term type situation. And then they're also increasing their capacity, what they call a surge capacity, if we do have a marked spike in cases, that they could handle that. And that's all I have to report for the hospital. And then the farmers market, I'll just expand on that a little bit. They are open 2 days a week at the current time, Saturdays 8 to 1 and Tuesdays 3 to 6 in the afternoon. That's all I have.
Any questions for Commissioner Leggett? I've got just one that manager mentioned, and you mentioned as well, Ms. Leggett, the COVID-19 ICU unit on the 2nd floor. I assume that that's a permanent addition. They're not just setting up a unit to handle it now, that they would dismantle at some point, or what?
They are converting those rooms to what they call a negative pressure, so that any airflow for that room goes into the room and that the germs do not go out of the room. And so they're having to convert that. For now, it's basically a permanent conversion until that wing is
So they're
needed.
actually adding capacity for their ICU, it sounds like. Okay. I
Well,
would hope
for
they're not
this type
adding
of
it.
patient.
I would hope it's not, something they're just adding for COVID-19, which hopefully we'll have a vaccine at some point, and that'll be like a seasonal flu. Okay.
It sounds like, and I don't know anything about it, but you used the word ICU. It sounds like what we're doing is getting isolation rooms, so we have negative pressure.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
any infectious disease that we have,
Yes.
not necessarily an ICU, but it sounds like another level of room care that we could have to protect movement within the hospital of any infectious disease that we
That's
had. Is
correct.
that more like what it is?
I believe so.
Which they could use for ICU or regular use if needed.
Well,
Sounds like.
I think it's more not ICU. With what little bit I've heard, and more rooms
Yeah.
that we would put anybody with an infectious disease in, so you couldn't carry it from room to room through
Yeah.
the ventilation system is what it sounds like.
The isolation rooms.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Isolation rooms instead of
All right, I just
ICU.
wanted to clarify that.
Right.
First
It's a
I'd
good
heard
point,
that.
'cause I was wondering what they were doing. They're not creating an ICU with $800,000 is what
No.
prompted me to think that.
Okay, District 5, I've got 3 committees, the Upper Coastal Plain RPO TAC Committee. As requested, I have previously provided the status of area DOT projects in an email on June the 9th. And in summary from this status report, the I-95 at Sunset Avenue project, which is actually under the authority of the MPO, which Chairman Davis serves on, is moving ahead and should begin construction sometime late this year or early next year. Due to funding issues, many of the other projects have been moved out 1 to 2 years. I would refer you to my email, which I received from Engineer Bobby Liverman, for the status of all area DOT projects. Our next meeting is July the 15th. Nash Community College Board of Trustees, we had a virtual meeting on May the 18th. Have nothing significant to report from that meeting. Our next meeting hopefully will be live, will be on July the 20th, depending upon the governor's orders. If not, we'll continue virtual. Nash County Broadband, again, thanks to Ms. McGee. She provided an update on the project, which I sent to you in an email prior to this meeting. It indicates that Phase 2 of this project will hopefully be completed by early September. Phase 3 of the project will follow. There's also, Mr. Lamb had sent it, and I referenced it in my email to you. There was a very nice article in the Enterprise on June the 8th, which spoke very well of the project that we're implementing on broadband. And again, thank you, Ms. McGee, for everything you did to provide that information to me. Our next project meeting with Cloudwise is scheduled, I believe, for Tuesday, June the 30th. We had to move it out a week, but June the 30th is the date for that. Any questions regarding any of these committees?
Stage 3 of broadband, is that northern Nash County?
Yes, sir. I would refer you to the information, Mr. Belfield, that Ms. McGee put out. And once you look through that, if you haven't had an opportunity already, then see me after the meeting, and I'll be glad to go over it with you, or Ms. McGee can do the same.
I haven't seen it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, District 6, Commissioner Wells.
Yeah, I'm not on term board anymore, so I have been replaced.
Okay, then we'll need to adjust that for our next meeting. Ms.
Is
Wells.
it official that Ms. Leggett has taken that position? Is that where we are?
Yes,
Okay. You have not been to a meeting?
we have not met
Okay.
as of yet.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wells. All right, District 7, Chairman Davis, and Chairman, once you complete your report, then I would turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Outlaw. The Rocky Mountain MPO has not met since our last second meeting of the month. We had one meeting that was postponed. The Tourism Development Authority did meet on June the 2nd. We actually met in this room, and which was a room we could meet the criteria of having a meeting with people, members attending the meeting, which we felt like we wanted to do if we could, because we have presentations for those funding. Going through what was approved, first of all, the Tackle the Tar that we have funded each year did not happen this year in May because of COVID-19. They requested that they had already received the funds because they use a lot of the funds up front for advertising, et cetera. They just asked that they be allowed to keep the funds for next year's project, so they did not have a funding request for this current year coming up. Blooming Festival was the same situation. It was canceled this year here in Nashville, as we all know. They had gotten their funding as well because it's used a lot in the early planning for it, and they also requested to just maintain the funds and it would be used for next year's. Down East Viking Classic, they did not make an appearance to request funding this year. We contacted them after the meeting, and they are not sure whether they'll have that this year or not yet. It's kind of up in the air. Of course, that's generally in September. We did tell them if indeed things change where they could have it, if they would contact us, our board would consider in a special call meeting funding for that particular project if it came to fruition this year. The remaining items, and we did have a significant reduction in revenue projections, as you might expect, because of travel and tourism. All those funds come from the hotel tax. And Donna, do you recall the specific amount you estimated the revenue reduction in percentage-wise? Okay, all right, about $200,000 less, and that may be a little aggressive, but people are staying in hotels again more frequently now, as we all know. But based on that, the funding we did approve was the Dunn Center, which we have a request from each year on the shows that they have out there. They requested $20,000. The board approved $10,000 moving forward for next year. The Pumpkin Festival requested $20,000, where last year they requested $10,000. The board did approve a $5,000 increase to $15,000. Tar River Orchestra requested $25,000, which is what they got this past year, and the board approved them at $20,000. And Nash Arts next door here requested $10,000, which is what they requested for the last few years, and they were approved at $10,000. We did have a 5-year commitment to North Carolina Wesleyan College to help fund the indoor tennis facility that is currently under construction there. That commitment was for $65,000 per year for 5 years. They were late getting started, so we have just made the first allotment and made that payment, and so we did fund. Of course, we're obligated to because the board voted to do it for 5 years, so we approved the $65,000 for that as well. And travel and tourism itself, which does get by statute 2 cents of the 3 cents that we collected, that we collect each hotel stay, and of course 2 cents goes to the city of Rocky Mount, but they get 66% of the part that stays in the county. And their budget, they requested $600,000, which is what they had last year. The board chose to lower that to $540,000. Meeting went smooth, a lot of discussion, a lot of unknowns about revenue, of course, but I think we approved a budget that we'll be able to meet. We do have an adequate, or really a pretty decent fund balance in TDA of about a little over $1 million. So we should be in good shape either way, particularly with the reduction in the fundings that the board approved this year. But if you got any questions on TDA, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you. We did not have any new requests come in this year at all, did we, Ms. Wood, that I recall? No, just re-request from prior years.
I don't have a question on that, Mr. Chairman, but,
Sure.
And I don't want to catch you, surprise you with something, but we, on May the 4th, I think, Oakley Collier, they had a proposal approved for the new elementary school.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just kind of following the timeline here, and I know COVID may have disrupted it somewhat, but do you know, are they on schedule for the release of bids, which is coming up like first week in January or so? There's a series of things that have got to take place prior to that time.
Sure. Actually, Commissioner Outlaw, I did check on that last week, and they say they are indeed on schedule. Of course, what's happening right now is field work at the site by the survey crew to gather the initial surveying information that they need as far as locating everything there now, and then they'll be moving forward with the design of the building. I do expect to have, and this will be called by the chairman of the school board, a meeting of that committee within the next couple of weeks.
I
with the
know their
architect.
schedule has got to start up like fall of
That's correct.
2022, so if they get
Yes.
too far behind, it could
Yeah.
disrupt that.
I really don't anticipate any delays in that
Okay.
at all. I don't see why we would have.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any other questions on committees or special reports? Seeing none, we're at the end of our agenda. Is there anything else any board member wishes to bring before the board? And what the intent here today would be is to recess our meeting until June the 29th, and I've got that time down at 2:30. I think we adjusted that because someone had a conflict, maybe Ms. Wells, I'm not sure who had the conflict.
I
But
may not be here, but we talked about that when we done it. I may not be here.
Well, wasn't that meeting to approve the budget if we needed it?
it was indeed, if we did not approve it today.
Right.
But also, we need to have that meeting to do final budget amendments before the end of the
I got
year. And we could have done those today, but because we're working so hard, particularly in the sheriff's office, to maximize everything we can to cover adult detention. You recall, we had a budget amendment on the last meeting that we were going to do for a $400,000 transfer. We decided to delay that, and we are going to delay it just as long as we can to try to cover as much of that as we can. We have succeeded, I think, Donna, in covering maybe $150,000 of it, and hopefully between now and then, we'll see some things turn in a positive direction where the final budget amendment for the sheriff's department would be less than what we anticipated it would be at that time, but of course, there will be others, I'm sure, as we close up the year.
And
But
it's 2:30 is like it's noted
it's
here.
2:30 as noted.
Thank you.
That's correct. And that's on 2 weeks from today. And we should not be here long. Mr. Lamb, did we even consider doing a conference call, or do we need to make an appearance? What's the legality of that? If that ends up being the only agenda, I feel like something else is going to show up. It always does anyway.
Right, well, this is only a week before the regular July meeting, so we're not anticipating anything except last-minute budget amendments.
Okay.
And it shouldn't be more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
And while we're looking at the jail adult detention budget amendments, we're also going to make sure every other department is in compliance by the end of the budget year.
Yeah, I think, Commissioner Outlaw, we wanted to wait this year as long as we could, simply because of the revenue being like it is.
Yes, sir. I recall now.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Bellfield?
And you may have called it, but I missed it.
Yes, sir.
Did the Down East Festival request any funds for this year?
They did not. I think they've had, to be honest with you, Mr. Bellfield, they had a lot of people change positions, and the person that was in charge of making that, I don't think had a clear understanding of what was going on. When we contacted him, or actually I contacted him myself and talked to him about it, he's the new athletic director, and his name slips my mind. We had a good discussion. They were not sure, of course, whether they were going to have it or not, probably leaning towards maybe not being able to have it. But the way we left it was, if indeed we get down there close to it and they are going to have it, we're going to call a special meeting and give them an opportunity to make that presentation and request the funding as they normally do. I think it was compounded by two things, really. They did not get funding last year. Therefore, they weren't on the automatic list to notify. They didn't get funding last year because the year before is when they didn't have the event because of the hurricane, so they used that money last year, so they didn't show up on the list last year. And then second to that, they had new personnel in place, and I'm not really sure. I got a call the day after the meeting from one of their board members asking when the meeting was. And of course, it was the day before. But we got them covered, I promise you that. If indeed they have it, we just gonna wait and see. I won't promise you what they'll be funded. I promise you we'll consider the request. I get 1 vote out of 15.
Okay.
Don, anything you want to add to that, or is that factual, I think? Okay, all right. All right, there's no more business. Mr. Lamb, did you have anything?
No, sir.
You say you did not?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to recess this meeting to June the 29th at 2:30.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, is there a second?
Second.
Surprised Ms. Richardson didn't make that motion or second it one, but all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.